Hello, everybody. It's the end of the week. It is predictions time. And I called him on Twitter EFL guru, EFL legend, knowledge magnet. What do you call yourself, Gab Sutton?
I like Magnet. We'll go with that. It's great to see you, Ben. We've not done one of these for a while, it feels like. So great to jump back on. How are you keeping, mate?
Well, I'm all right, but there's movement at the top of the leaderboard. I just added up Hugh Woozencroft's score from last week. He didn't make it right to the top, but he's right tucked in there with 19 points alongside Sam Parkin. Matt, I'm good at everything Holland is still top with 20 points. There's this gap, though, of 12 points where we had Chris, Sani, Justin, and Vizay. Are you going to be challenging Matt Holland at the top, or are you just happy to land in that gap and not be at the bottom?
I think I'm going to. Who was the sort of holding midfielder for Ipswich alongside Matt Holland
Cole
that allowed him?
Skews.
Cole
Oh,
Skews.
there you go.
Yeah, I'll go with the Cole Skews type. So I'm going to be a Cole Skews, slightly different Ipswich Town eras, but I'm going to be the Cole Skews that allows Matt Holland to go and score 3 goals against Birmingham for Charlton. 3 or 4. So, I'm going to go for a solid and steady performance, Ben. That's the target.
I love Cole Skews, but I have Jamie Carragher's words ringing in my ears when he said, "Nobody grows up wanting to be Gary Neville." I've got "nobody grows up wanting to be Cole Skews" in my, but he's still doing it for Colchester, as we may discuss in the Patreon portion. If you do sign up on Patreon, I'm going to be chatting all things EFL to Gab after we do this. But look, let's get into these predictions. So, Gab, scoring system. If you get the outcome right, doesn't matter the score, I'm going to give you a point. If you get the home score right, doesn't matter the outcome, I'll give you a point. If you get the away score right, doesn't matter the outcome, I'll give you a point. Obviously, if you get all 3 of them right, you would have got everything correct. I'm going to give you a bonus point. You get 4 points. Okay. So basically, if you want to be anywhere near the top of the leaderboard, you're going to have to get sort of 3 of them bang on and pick up some dubious points elsewhere.
All right.
Now, Hugh last week decided to be the first person to try the rotation system where I go first on one and then you go first on one and rotate back and forth.
Tactical.
But I will give you the choice. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first? Or do you want to do the Hugh Woozencroft ABBA system?
Well, this is interesting because if I know what you're predicting, then I feel like I can get a slight advantage by. But I'm going to be a bit of a gentleman, and I'm going to take it on and go first, and then
that's tremendous.
Yeah,
there you go. He's putting it all on the line. Let's go straight in, Gab. Friday night, we're going to call it the Jake Livermore derby. Hull versus West Brom. What are you saying?
Hull have dropped off a bit lately, haven't they? I'm going to go 2-1 to West Brom.
2-1 West Brom. He's gone away. I suppose West Brom are slight favourites on paper, aren't they? Do you know what?
I'm much better, by the way, though, under Liam Rosenior. Like, they've made some good progress.
100%. I'm inclined to agree with you. I saw West Brom, Gab, against Watford, and strangely, they were awful defensively. So I'm going to assume they're going to tighten up. So I'm going to agree with you, but not match you up. I'll go for 0-1. Sorry, Hull fans, to West Brom. Now, what do I call this? Do I call this the M4 derby, the 7-side derby? If I get it wrong, fans will tell me. Shall I just call it Cardiff versus Bristol City? Go ahead. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's go for 7-side. I think so. Cardiff have made some improvement under Savri Lemici. It seems like a lot of the players are quite happy under him. I think he's an experienced manager as opposed to perhaps what they've had before. Bristol City, though, are in form as well. Obviously, had the cup game against Man City on Tuesday, but I think Cardiff might be able to get something, and the fact that it's at Cardiff makes me think they'll get a result. I'm going to go 1-0 to Cardiff City.
I don't like going after you because I agree with everything you say, and it looks like I'm just copying all your ideas, but I totally agree. Tuesday night plus 12:30 kickoff on Saturday, I think that gives Cardiff a little bit of an edge. Even though I like Bristol City at the moment, I think Cardiff will get something. Let's go down the middle, and I will go for a 1-1 draw. And this one's just popped up. This is really interesting. Informed Blackburn versus Sheffield United trying to hold on to that second place spot? Be my guest.
Well, both sides, interestingly, got through to the FA Cup quarter-finals in midweek as
Amazing.
well. Obviously, Blackburn Rovers and Sheffield United. So great news for them, and going well in the league too. I think Sheffield United last weekend made things a little bit more comfortable for them because they won, and crucially Middlesbrough lost, so they've got a pretty good buffer again now. Blackburn, I think, are a good pressing, counter-attacking side under Yarndale Thomason. I think they might be able to get a draw out of this one. I'm going to go for one apiece.
One apiece. Do you know, I was going to go 2-2, but I feel like I went for a draw already. So I might go for a winner in this. I always back Sheffield United, though. Oh, dear. I'm just going to have to accept that I agree with you, but I won't double up. Let's go for an early, exciting Desmond. And I promise I won't do any more draws. 2-2, Blackburn 2, Sheffield United 2. Luton versus Swansea. Gab, I did a watch-along of Swansea on Monday. I really didn't think they were very good. Go ahead.
I think Luton can cause a lot of problems under Rob Edwards because they've got a slightly more sort of progressive style than perhaps what we saw for them in Nathan Jones's second spell, but they've still got the ability with their wing backs to get to the byline and put crosses in for Morrison and Adebayo. So I think they're going to pose a threat that way, and they've obviously recruited really well in January, whereas Swansea didn't sign anyone in January, and I think that's pretty much why they've fallen away. So I'm going to say 2-0 to Luton Town. Yeah,
I'm going to assume that Swansea are not going to massively click. I mean, I do admire Russ Martin and what he attempts to do with this beautiful total football, but you know, sometimes you watch it and you know, Rotherham should have won that game, shouldn't they, the other night? Yeah. And you know, Rotherham at home versus Luton away, all logic says that's a more difficult game over at Luton, so I'll back Luton as well. I'll go for a more open one than you then. I'll go for 3-1 to Luton. Good luck, Mick. Blackpool versus Burnley.
I think that could be a cricket score, you know, Ben. Do you know what? By the way, am I competing against multiple people, or am I just competing against you?
You're competing against me and the leaderboard.
Okay, and the leaderboard. So would I get? So it wouldn't benefit me more to get an unlikely score right.
It wouldn't, but you would have my respect. Hugh did actually get 4-0 Burnley last week, which so he gets our respect for that one. But no.
So my instinct, Ben, says that this could be a cricket score, and by that I'm talking 6, 7, 8. I really do think that because and that might sound a bit crazy, but I've spoken to Blackpool fans, season ticket holders, really loyal fans who are feeling a little bit disillusioned. And by the way, you know, that says a lot considering 3 years ago they'd just come out of the Oyston reign. So I think things really are bad there. I think Blackpool are absolutely doomed to relegation. And Burnley are one of the greatest ever championship teams. I think we could have a debate here, Ben, about them or the 17-18 Wolves side or various other teams that have done it. So with that in mind, I think this could really be a cricket score. I'm going to put my neck on the line and say Burnley run out 6-0 winners.
That is, in all the predictions, that is my favourite prediction. And the first 6-0 we've had, that is bold. I love it. I've also used to have a season ticket to watch a team managed by Mick McCarthy, so he is going to batten down the hatches in this one. So I'll assume they won't get up to 6. Let's go for a more conservative prediction and even out Gab. 2-0. Blackpool 0, Burnley 2. Middlesbrough versus Reading. Now, we will address Reading's potential EFL sanctions over on Patreon because we've been asked a couple of questions. Chaos off the pitch never tends to work well in the EFL, does it? Is that going to affect Middlesbrough versus Reading?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I remember Blues had a 9-point deduction, and then a few seasons ago, Ben, and then very shortly after that, we beat Leeds 1-0.
I was there.
Oh, you were there, were you? Oh my God, yeah. That was just a brilliant Gary Monk massive. You were pretty much at all the championship games.
Yeah, I was back. I have a daughter now, so things are very different.
Yes, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. So anyway, sometimes that can bring a club together in those sort of times of sort of adversity, I guess. And really, I think the key for Reading, Ben, is sort of about staying up, because if they stay up and get next season, then they've got an opportunity to rebuild in the Championship because some of the restrictions are lifted. So this is a really important sort of stage for Reading, if you like. But Middlesbrough, I know they lost last time out, but I'm a big fan of their progress under Michael Carrick, and I don't think I could go against them. I'm going to go for 3-1 to Middlesbrough. But I think Reading, they can get some crosses into the box. They've got some aerial threats with Andy Carroll and Maite as well. So I think that Reading might get a goal, but I think Middlesbrough win 3-1.
In which case, I will go with the shutout. I think I totally agree. Middlesbrough look hot favourites for this one, especially with Reading's away form. Let's go 2-0 Middlesbrough and move on to the ever-confusing enigma that is Watford. But they're at home to Preston. Preston did have a good win and do skew better away from home. But we say it every week, all that star power in the Watford squad.
Yeah, I do feel like, we can talk about the managerial situation, and it's not a surprise, is it, Ben, that people are already talking about Slaven Bilic, because it just feels like a bit of a but I think that when you've got the individual quality of that Watford have got with Ismail Assar, João Pedro, Ken Sema and Keenan Davis, I think there's talk that Keenan Davis might need a strike partner, so they've got the option of putting on Araujo and going two up top later in the game if they need to. But I think their depth there, I think Watford are more solid defensively since Hoot and Portier have come into the defence as well. So I'm pretty confident in saying Watford win that one. I'm going to go 2-0 to the Hornets.
Yeah, I like it. And I do agree about Keenan Davis. I remember at the end of last season, he was just an absolute rampaging bull for Forest. And my brain was going, whoever gets him on loan next season has got it made. He just hasn't quite been the same, has he? I don't know for what reason. Yeah, I think it'll be tight. Watford have the air of a team that kind of gets by on quality rather than pattern of play, don't they? Let's go 1-0 to the Hornets. This is an interesting one. Millwall v Norwich.
Millwall v Norwich. Oh gosh, that is an interesting one, because I think that's probably the test for Norwich. They've been very good against the sort of middling and lesser sides under David Wagner, but perhaps when they've come against some of the better sides, that's where they've come unstuck a little bit. I'm thinking, leaning towards a draw there, because Millwall are a really good side. They've got an excellent defence. Jake Cooper's one of the best centre backs in the league. They've got Zian Fleming, who's one of the best recruits of
loves a 20-yarder, doesn't he?
He certainly does. Got so much quality, Zian Fleming. And then you look at Tom Bradshaw. Is it 4 goals in his last 2 now? So he's banging form. So I think Millwall will be very competitive. But then Norwich, they've got that depth. They've got, the two of the Brazilian lads, Sara and Nunes. Again, two of the best players in the league. I'm going to have to sit on the fence a little bit with this one. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw, Ben.
I hate to do it, but I'm going to double you up on this one. I'm also going to go 1-1. I just have them so evenly matched. If it was at Carrow Road right now, I'd back Norwich. But I just think Millwall at the Den, I think, won't lose, but I think Norwich won't not score, if that's not incredibly bad. Bad grammar and English on World Book Day. Huddersfield versus Coventry. Now, Warnock is so clever with the psychology, managed to get everyone to write off the Burnley game, but home game now. Coventry are good, but he needs some points, doesn't he?
Yeah, for sure. I think he's probably going to try and bring in some of the experienced heads like Jonathan Hogg and Matt Loughton, because I think Warnock is going to rely on experience in this situation. He has been able to galvanise Huddersfield. That's why I think they've probably got a better chance of staying up than maybe Blackpool, who are feel like a divided club at the moment. Huddersfield, I think, will rally under Neil Warnock. So I think there's a chance that Huddersfield are able to get the result they need. But then, do you want to write off Coventry with, because Coventry can be under pressure, but then they've got Gus Hamer who can play a 40-yard ball, and they've got Victor Gyökeres who can run the channels, out-muscle a centre-back and then swerve and then put it in the bottom corner. So they've always got those individual moments. I'm kind of thinking the sort of the spirit of the rejuvenated Huddersfield under Neil Warnock that are going to be galvanised versus the sort of the individual moments that Coventry can produce. And what I'm coming to in my mind is I think it might be a 2-2 draw. That's kind of where I'm looking.
In which case, I just think Gyökeres gets in these moments where you're like, well, he's definitely going to score. Well, if he's on the pitch for 70 minutes, 90 minutes, he's going to score. So I will back Coventry on the basis of the hot striker then. Warnock will throw everything in, though, and they'll score, won't they? So I'll go 2-1 Coventry. Yeah. Sunderland versus Stoke. I always just laugh when we get to Stoke every week because I could just literally pull it out of a bingo machine and make it up. What do you reckon?
Yeah, Stoke, Alex Neil's been in charge for 5 months now, and we still haven't...
Oh, it's his return, isn't it? Of course. Good shout.
Yeah, and we still haven't sort of worked Stoke out. But I think Sunderland have possibly even evolved to the better since Alex Neil came in, and I wonder if maybe Tony Mowbray seems to almost suit some of the recruitment, especially in terms of signing some of the younger players from the continent. And I think Sunderland are comfortably the better side than Stoke for me. So I would say 3-1 to Sunderland. I think they'll win this pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with you. Sunderland are quite open, aren't they? So I'll go both teams to score as well. Let's go 2-1 Sunderland. So I'm really edging on what you're doing there. This is the joy of going second, isn't it? Your side, Gab, Wigan versus Birmingham.
Yeah, Blues, we've massively dropped off since the World Cup interlude. John Eustace has tried to sort of keep a united front publicly, but I think there's been reports recently that there was a bit of a dressing room bust up after the last game. So I think there is a bit of strife in the camp, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Blues react to that. I think that the problem we've got at the moment is we've not really got much depth. So we had a good first 11 up to sort of November, and that was fine for what we needed at the time. But then once things go wrong, you need the options to change things around, both in game and between games. And what we've got is players who aren't quite up to championship level, like Jordan Graham, for example. You've got veterans like George Friend and Lukas Jukovic. To be fair, Lukas Jukovic has made an impact from the bench. I think at Swansea once or twice to give him his due. And then we've got sort of youngsters, sort of teenagers on the bench as well. So not ideal for shaking things up when we need to. But then you look at Wigan. They've been excellent defensively under Sean Maloney. That's where they've really improved. And I do feel like they might beat us. And if they win that, they go within 4 points of us. So that certainly drags us into the dogfight. So I think it'll be 1-0 Wigan, unfortunately.
Wow, bold. I agree about Sean Maloney. Obviously, I don't know whether he was told to come in and tighten the defence up, but certainly that's what he's chosen to do. Birmingham, strange, because earlier in the season, Hogan had really got himself going, and now he's on a scoreless streak again, isn't he? Yeah. Do you know what? I haven't played a nil effing nil yet. Let's do it on this one. 0-0. I will go for Wigan versus Birmingham, which is absolutely no help to either side. And there we go. Right, on to the last one then. And Rotherham versus QPR, but QPR of Gareth Ainsworth.
Rotherham against QPR. Well, I think Rotherham created enough chances at Swansea last time out to get the win. I think that they recruited really well in January. Some of the signings they brought in, I think, have really improved their squad, and possibly they've got in better than I expected. QPR are on a bit of a downer at the moment. It's funny, it feels like a whole world away that they were top of the league at the beginning of November, weren't they, Ben? And all of a sudden they've just completely plummeted. And now they're kind of looking to almost a little bit of a firefighter in Gareth Ainsworth, just to get some positivity back into the club at a time of a bit of conflict, I suppose. But I've got a feeling Rotherham might win this one. I'm going to go 2-1 to the Millers.
Ainsworth's come up against Paul Warne's Rotherham. I can't get that the whole Paul Warne is not at Rotherham and Gareth Ainsworth is not at Wickham. This is all confusing my brain a little bit now. It feels like Ainsworth and Rotherham is a thing in bygone League One days, doesn't it? Is it going to get the impact? I predicted they'd get the fresh start last week, and they didn't against Blackburn. And Rotherham were good, weren't they? I just think QPR will score. I think it's a very different challenge playing Swansea than it is. Swansea will have 80% of the ball and no shots, and a Gareth Ainsworth team will have 12% of the ball and loads of shots, won't they?
Yeah.
It's the complete opposite. I'll go for a draw then. If I can see maybe QPR equalising late on or something silly like that. Let's go Rotherham 1, QPR 1. There we go. That is all 12, Gab. What we want you to do in the comments is we want you to play along. Please keep track of your own score. I'd love to be able to add up everybody else's in the comments, but I really do not have the time, sadly. But I will add up Gab's and see where he lands on the good.
I'm very interested to see how that 6-0 comes out, Ben.
I've put my when Mick McCarthy S-houses the 1-0, that line looked very inspired or very, very silly, wasn't it? But this is the joy of predictions, Gab. And there are two types of people in this world. There are the people that comment before the games and the people that comment after the game. So be one of the people down there that comments before the games. And be one of the people that signs up on Patreon, www.patreon.com/BenjaminBlue, because Gab is now going to impart lots of wisdom over there. We're going to talk EFL. We've got some questions. So get over there and we'll probably do another good stint, probably, hopefully, exactly the same as we've just done in terms of time with Gab right now.